Everybody, TwinklePhoenix here, welcome to Seduce Me, a lesson in romance, a little extra episode for the boys. Michaela has actually released the one for James now. We've already seen Sam, so let's head off and try it out James's story. This is part of Seduce Me 1. Imagine, if you will, you live in a gorgeous mansion with the man of your dreams. You can do anything you've ever wanted, and there was nothing in the world that could hold you back. Well, that was my life. I was the granddaughter of a CEO, and had somehow earned his estate upon his death. The man of my dreams just happened to be waiting for me in the lobby of the mansion as I moved in. Mind you, he was mortally wounded, and he turned out to be a demon, but that was beside the point. The man of my dreams, James, was smart, kind, caring, and very capable of taking care of not only me, but his 4 younger brothers. The 5 of them lived with me for a short while, making the house as lively as ever. However, I only needed James at my side, and soon enough, the younger 4 brothers left us to our own devices, wanting to start lives of their own. Living with James was like a dream come true. He always cooked breakfast and helped me keep the house clean, and during his free time, he tended the garden. There were often times when he and I would eat in the gazebo outside, enjoying the sun and fresh air. Work-wise, James had taken the position of CEO at my grandfather's toy company and helped expand it to new heights. He did his very best to make it the best company it could be and wound up raising more money for charity than any other company on the planet. Needless to say, I was very proud of him and was happy to know that my grandfather's company was in good hands. I was even more happy to call him mine. James and I had lived a dreamlike romance for a year and a half. The thought of marriage often crossed my mind, but I left it to the hands of fate. If James was going to propose to me, then he would do it when he was ready. Nevertheless, the conversations we would have were interesting to say the least. One day I found him lounging in the library, lost in a familiar book. With a smirk, I crept inside and peered over his shoulder at the chapter he was reading. You really like that book, don't you, James? Jumping in his seat, James snapped out of his train of thought and stared up at me in surprise, making me laugh and grip the chair to keep from falling onto my knees from hilarity.
Love!
Good afternoon to you too, James. Enjoying that story? I smiled playfully at James before taking the book out of his hand and looking at the cover. I was right. Love and romance is a study of intimacy. I'm so sorry. Okay. James cleared his throat as he shook his head and relaxed in his chair, trying to calm down from his sudden surprised outburst. You keep coming back to this book, no matter how many others you read. Why?
It's an interesting commentary on romance. A writer falling in love with her manager and dealing with her own internal feelings is an interesting topic to read about.
Truly? I handed the book back to James before walking around and sitting on the empty seat across from him. James nodded and placed the book down on the table between us while he crossed his legs.
Remember, demons don't fully understand love. We may experience it, but we don't know it well enough to label it as such.
But you understand it, right?
Of course, but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't continue to read about it.
I guess you're right, but what does reading that book over and over do for your research on it? James chuckled and leaned back in his chair.
That book in particular shows the balance between love and lust, which, by contrast, is an emotion demons understand completely.
Completely. I'm sure there are some things even you don't understand if demons don't understand love. Provoked by my statement, James raised his eyebrows with an almost amused grin. I don't like the look of this. What's he gonna do?
Is that a challenge?
No! For a moment, I remembered James's powerful personality. This was a challenge of his intelligence, and such a dare would not remain undominated for long under his keen eye. As I mulled over the idea in the following seconds of silence, I could only find myself entertained by the idea of him trying to prove himself to me. To that I smirked and lifted my chin a bit in this small taunting display. And if it was? The moment James smirked at me and licked his lips ever so slightly made me question everything in the form of loud screaming in my head. What did I throw myself into? Still my face remained unfazed, and I continued to stand my ground as James replied.
Then tell me, what could I possibly not know?
I stared at James for the longest time before settling into my seat, crossing my legs. If this was going to be a lesson in romance, then this was going to be one where I was the teacher. Alright then, do you know what the sexiest thing a piss can do for another?
That's a bit specific.
I promise there's only one answer. That was a lie. There was obviously more than one answer, but I hoped that he would draw the answer from our relationship rather than just a form of genetic answer. Either way, I would get him. James sat back and closed his eyes, thinking to himself and assembling his answer. As he opened his eyes, he smiled.
Make them feel cared for and cherished beyond anything else in the world.
His answer surprised me. I imagined trying to weasel out the answer with a gesture or a specific action. As his words hit me, my cheeks burned a soft pink in agreement. It was rather sexy to think about. The feeling of his hands along my body would make me feel like a goddess, worthy enough to be ravished. The kiss on my skin would paint me in a glow of love and compassion. The way he held me always sent me to cloud nine. Had he won this round? I nodded, pursing my lips as his smirk grew a bit. He interlaced his fingers and placed them on his knees, awaiting my next questions. This had become a game of trivia almost. Would he know all the answers? I pushed forward, now determined to prove that I was right. Okay, what about the sexy clothes?
What about them?
What colour clothes should a person wear to attract someone? Another trick question. This was all in my opinion. It didn't take long for James to reply.
It depends on the person they wish to attract.
As James's eye travelled up and down my form, I suddenly felt naked.
I personally would love to see you in black. Perhaps gold or red.
Damn it, he won again, but at least I knew what to wear if I ever wanted to seduce him in bed. I shook my thoughts out and knuckled down on my determination. I would not be beaten. I uncrossed my legs and leaned over my knees, face as stone cold as a statue. James raised an amused eyebrow once again as I threw a volley of questions at him, hoping to throw him off. Giving or receiving?
Giving.
Nightgowns or teddies?
Nothing at all.
Oh gosh. Kitchen or shower?
Both.
Oh boy. I was going crazy at the ideas forming my head. This game of questions and answers became one that heightened my limbo in the most shameless of ways. Still, I would not give in. The questions became about our relationships more than just general romance and less. The more he answered, the more I learned about him. I would use his responses to my advantage later, but for now, the hardest answers continued. Sensual or rough?
Depends on how we feel.
Fast or slow?
Start slow, then get faster.
Handcuffs or blindfolds? Main character, behave.
Both.
What just happened? James instantly covered his mouth with his hands. The slip escaped his lips. James instantly covered his mouth with his hands. The slip escaped his lips, and making his true feelings known along with the embarrassing blush crossed his cheeks. As his answer rang my ears, my entire face became beet red. What? James was into both. James was into both handcuffs and blindfolds. What about other kinky things? Whips, rods? James shook his head. He wasn't into the violent play. Being called master? Silence. It made sense. Him liking the play on his dominance. Oh, God. If you don't know what that is, I'll just say it now. Bondage slave master. For those who are not aware, I'm aware what those stand for. Because I guarantee someone's going to ask me what it means. James closed his eyes and sighed into his palm before he fell to his lap and he lowered his head. As he spoke, I could tell he was being frank with me, dissolving his shame as he was speaking to the one he loved.
It's not something demons do, but I enjoy learning about it and imagining it.
Aw, poor James. Where did you learn about it? I bet it's in a book or something. James chose softly, shaking his head.
A novel I read a long time ago.
Knew it.
It was a study on fictional romance and the publishing of erotica in the last 10 years. It wound up in the piles of books I read when we first came to the human world.
Oh, God. That explained it. However, I almost didn't expect it from James. Eric, maybe, but not James. Looking at him, I could tell James was trying to come to terms with releasing this information to me. While he was talking to the one he loved, he knew that the topic was a pretty big one to drop in the game we were previously playing. I didn't want to make him feel uncomfortable about it, so I spoke up again. Are you interested in trying it? For a moment, James didn't answer. When he did, I could tell that he was being open about it, now that I knew of his true feelings for it.
I would be lying if I said no.
James looked back up at me, his expression neutral in an attempt to remain calm. I leaned back in my seat and closed my eyes. This game definitely taught me a lot of new things about James. Would I pursue this new information and try with him? That was up to me to decide later on. For now, though, our game had ended, and it was unclear who had won between us. I'd gotten my answers, but the last question threw both of us off. How would we determine the winner? I finally decided to stand up and walk over to James, letting him watch me as I sat on his lap, wrapping my arms around his neck and leaning my forehead against his. Maybe you do know everything. James finally relaxed and nuzzled my nose with his before kissing me softly.
Well, not everything.
The music suddenly changed. Huh?
I still have a lot to learn about you.
Me? James stared deep in my eyes, leaning back and removing his glasses. As his whiskey eyes began to glow a soft golden color, I gasped as he smiled playfully at me.
It's only fair that I ask you the same questions that you asked me. Don't you think?
I stared wide at James. Was he seriously going to ask me the same question I asked him? James chuckled lowly.
What? Are you afraid now?
No. Stuttering.
Good. Because I don't intend to be gentle.
Fuck. And that, of course, was the end. Gosh, that was interesting. So we just learned a lesson in romance from James. We actually found out James didn't do some really... Oh my gosh. Well, one of them was bound to like it. Was not expecting it to be James, but hey. So you guys, there'll be a link below to the game if you guys want to see for yourselves. I'm not sure if the other ones are going to be released anytime soon, but there are other episodes planned, so we will of course cover them. But that of course was the one for James. This will be going in Seduce Me one's playlist with James. I also put Sam's one is in his playlist as well. We will be continuing Seduce Me 2 tomorrow. So you guys, if you want to see more Seduce Me, be back here on the channel tomorrow, and there'll be more episodes up for you guys to enjoy. Well, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Oh gosh, that was hilarious.